The Crew 2, the missing traffic cars. Yes, welcome back to the channel, fellas. Welcome back to the channel, fellettes. Now, here's the thing. As you know, I've been quiet for the past few days on YouTube. Haven't really put too much out. I've been taking a bit of a backseat and just getting some real life-ish sorted out. But nevertheless, it doesn't mean that I haven't been keeping my ear to the ground. It doesn't mean I haven't been reading comments across other videos and just getting a general idea of what the feeling is towards The Crew 2. One of the biggest concerns that many people have has been how the world feels, well, sort of empty, sort of bland, sort of dry, almost as if there isn't much going on from time to time. Now, my thought process in my mind was telling me the reason for this is because people wanted cops in the game. We know there are no cops in The Crew 2, and from Ivory Tower's words, it seems like there isn't any plans for that to be happening anytime soon, if at all. But then a buddy of mine going by the name of Captain BOURNE hit me up on my Discord, giving me a bit of information in relation to the fact that he had spotted a whole load of trucks, pedestrian and civilian vehicles that were actually in trailers and cutscenes of the game but not implemented into the open world. So me, being the investigative person that I am, I asked him to provide me links, screenshots, etc., and the captain was only too happy to oblige. Now, in total, he's managed to find 7, of which 5 have been spotted in different trailers and 2 of them were actually spotted in in-game cutscenes. What I'm going to do now is give you a visual representation of what I'm talking about here, of his findings, so let's check them out.
Silver Kruger on the track.
Now, the final 2 vehicles on this list are actually in-game cutscenes. Because I've not progressed enough in the game, I'm not able to show you those bits and pieces, but I'm sure that if you've completed the game already or you're far enough, you've probably seen them yourselves. Not only that, but they're dotted around YouTube. Loads of people have done complete walkthroughs, so you can find them. They're not too hard to find. Now, my initial reaction when Captain BOURNE sent me all this information was, well, surprised. To be quite honest with you, I was very surprised. You see, I remember watching every single one of those trailers. Not only that, but I've done around 30 videos on The Crew 2 already in the lead up to the launch, and I used a lot of those trailer cutscenes for the purpose of my commentary, for narrative purposes, and at no point from then till playing the game did I realise that all these cars were not here. Vehicles, whatever you want to call them. I'm not a developer, I'm a content creator, but when I use my logic, the only reason I can think of in my head as to why these vehicles have been omitted from the actual open world, probably because of stability issues, optimization problems, not being able to get the game to run fluently, smoothly and stable at 30 FPS or 60 FPS or whatever platform it is they're developing for. Again, I'd just like to stress heavily, this is not information that has been given to me. This is just my thought process and my, I guess, trying to find some sort of reasoning and logic behind this. But here's the thing, even if there is a constructive reason, even if there is a logical reason as to why these vehicles did not make the open world, that doesn't all of a sudden turn a negative situation into a positive here. It doesn't, it really doesn't, because if they're not going to be in the game, they shouldn't be in the trailers. The biggest reason, the reason why Super Street the game is in such a situation at the moment is because they've not released a proper trailer. The reason why Super Street the game is in a mess at the moment is because they've not released a proper trailer. People are screaming for one, and the reason why they're screaming for one is simply because trailers are the biggest representation of what your product is going to be about. It's the way most people get a general consensus and feel for what your theme is going to be, for how the game is going to look visually, to what their appetites for, what they can expect, all that good stuff. Now, no doubt there are some of you watching this thinking to yourselves, but Bourne, why are you complaining for? It's just traffic cars. Well, here's the thing, there are two problems that are linked directly to this. The first is the fact, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, a lot of people are complaining that the world is empty. If there were more traffic cars in the world, then that will go some way to negate that problem. I'm not saying it will all of a sudden make the game feel less boring, but it will go a little bit of a way towards solving that problem. The second and potentially more worrying issue is this is not the first time this has happened with the Crew 2. It's not the first time. You see, a few months ago, before the game was even launched, in my run up to the game, I actually put out a video where I had a theory that there were going to be cops in the game. Now, that theory wasn't just plucked out of the sky. It wasn't someone just sending me a little bit of information of written text. It was because in one of the trailers there was a police chase. Across the bridge, there was cops chasing someone down in a police car, and I think there was even a police helicopter. So going off of the trailer, which is supposed to be a true representation of the product upon which I'm going to buy, I was within reason to expect there to be cops in the game. Now, let me make another thing abundantly clear. I am not one of those people that are screaming for cops to be in the game. I don't care for cops at this present moment in time because I don't feel that it's in keeping with the theme. Cops go well in the world, they do. In the open world of this game, a cop-based element would work. The problem is it doesn't tie into the theme of the game, which is a celebration of motorsport. It's all about competition, but legal-based competition, not a legal-based street racing like a Need for Speed. So because of the theme upon which they're going for, I don't think cops would work. They would just seem out of place a bit. But once again, as with the traffic car situation, just because I've been able to provide some sort of logic to there not being cops in the game, that does not turn a negative situation into a positive situation. Cops should not have been featured in the trailer. There should have been no cop cars chasing someone down a bridge. There should have been no police helicopter. It should not have been there whatsoever if it's not going to be in the game, because it sways people's expectations. It puts people's thought process one way, and then they get the game and the realization is the other way, and it's like, what the heck? What Ivory Tower needs to understand from this is that when it comes to the gaming world, there are certain bad instances which are understandable, difficult to accept, but importantly understandable. An example of this could be servers going down once in a while due to them either being hacked or to a massive influx or overload of players at any one given time. That can happen. That is the nature of how servers work across all sectors, not just gaming. So things like that you can understand happening once in a while, and whilst it doesn't give the consumer the greatest experience from time to time, it's understandable. The failure to add or implement certain car manufacturers or brands into the game. So we all know that Toyota at this present moment in time are not co-signing their vehicles, or in other words, giving the legal permissions required for their cars to be in the Crew 2 and Need for Speed. For whatever reason, they seem to be pulling away from action arcade racing games and sticking to Sims only. There are a lot of people out there who start throwing abuse at Ivory Tower, abuse at Ghost for not having Toyota in the games. You can't do that because that is the fault of the manufacturer, not the publishing company, not the developer, as the manufacturer are the legal rights holders to the product upon which they have built, in this case the car. Now those are two very differing examples of how you can have a negative outcome, or a game may not reach or hit your expectations, but for understandable reasons, logical reasons, reasons where we have to offer some sort of leniency, some sort of grace and allowance. The problem that we've got with the two examples examples that have been brought to light in this video with the cops and the non-inclusion of roadside and traffic-based, emergency and civilian vehicles is that while there may be logical and understandable reasons as to why they've not been included into the final game, there is no logical and understandable reason for them to have been featured heavily in the trailers. There is none. Remember, we're not just talking about one traffic vehicle here, we are talking about 7 very distinctive ones as well. The theme of the Crew 2, as I've already mentioned, doesn't really make sense for there to have cops in the game, but again, there's no understandable reason as to why there was a cop chase in the trailer. It doesn't make sense. I can't make sense of it. Now, a couple of things. I know there are going to be some people that point out, but hold on a minute, to their credit, they did come out and say before the game was launched that there wasn't going to be any cops. Yes, they did, and if I'm not mistaken, that was actually in a YouTube video. I think it was a live stream Q&A session, or maybe an E3 video, I'm not sure, but yes, I am aware that they've said that. The problem is though, is that that video probably doesn't even have 1 million views. Go and search for it. It probably has what, 250,000, 250,000, maybe 500,000 at most. The Crew 1 had 14 million registered players. 14 million. So there's no way that delivering the message in that kind of fashion is going to touch base with all the prospective buyers. It's just not a feasible way. Also, in relation to the traffic cars not being in the game, part of me started to think that maybe this was a console limitation. Maybe it's because the consoles aren't as powerful as PCs. They kind of maybe left a few things out to ensure that it ran smoothly at a stable rate. So I went over to my gaming rig, an i7 7700 quad-core CPU coupled with an NVIDIA GTX 1060, which is a pretty powerful setup. It's not the most powerful, but it's definitely strong enough. Tried the game on various settings, tried it on 60 FPS, tried it on 30 FPS, tried it on medium, and even went right the way up to ultra. It doesn't matter what configuration you put together, you do not get those trailer vehicles to spawn in the game. Ivory Tower, Fergus, I like what you do. I really do. These are some of the hardest working development people that you will come across. Blood, sweat, tears, energy, effort, passion, heart, desire, all of that goes into the games that they put out. But what I would like to see going forward is us moving away from all of this. If it's not going to be in the main game, don't have it in the trailer. Just don't. Do not. Because people pick up on these things very quickly. Because of YouTube, because of other mediums whereby you can post videos, it's very easy to pull a video down, stop it, play it back, analyze it, break it down and spot all the anomalies. Yes, this is most certainly criticism, but it's criticism coming from a good place. I don't like seeing good people shoot themselves in the foot unnecessarily when they can avoid such things happening. So in the comment section below, let me know what your thoughts are on this. Let me know whether or not there are other traffic-based vehicles that have been spotted in trailers that were not implemented into the game, or other features like cops or along those lines that seem to be missing. As always, I'll try to respond to as many comments as I can. Be sure to hit the subscribe button if you're new, and I'll see you when the next video comes out. Take it easy, please.